What if I told you there's a German town with over 1,300 medieval buildings that looks like a fairy tale, but 99% of travelers have never heard of it? I discovered QUEDLINBURG completely by accident when my train broke down, and what I found will blow your mind. A UNESCO World Heritage site so perfectly preserved that walking through it feels like time travel. What's up, adventure seekers? Welcome back to Magnificent Must-Sees. I'm about to take you inside Germany's best-kept medieval secret, a town where the first German king was crowned over 1,000 years ago, where Nazi treasure hunters once searched for ancient artifacts, and where a mystery still puzzles historians today. This isn't just another pretty German town. QUEDLINBURG was the birthplace of the German Empire, and the treasures hidden here survived wars, theft, and centuries of political upheaval. But here's what will shock you most. There's an unsolved mystery in this town that involves a legendary bird, a divine sign, and the founding of Germany itself. I'll reveal this incredible story at the end of this video. If you think you know Germany's most beautiful destinations, QUEDLINBURG is about to prove you completely wrong. Let me show you why this medieval masterpiece should be at the top of your bucket list. The moment you see QUEDLINBURG's skyline, you'll understand why German kings chose this exact spot to rule their empire. The Schlossberg, Castle Hill, rises dramatically above the medieval town like something from a Brothers Grimm fairy tale. But the history here is absolutely real. The Collegiate Church of St. Servatius dominates this hilltop with twin towers that have watched over QUEDLINBURG for nearly 900 years. But this isn't just any church. It's built on the exact spot where King Henry I established the first German royal court in 919 AD. Walking into this Romanesque masterpiece is like entering the birthplace of a nation. The crypt beneath the altar contains something incredible. The actual tomb of King Henry I, the first German king, and his wife Queen Mathilde. This is one of the few places in the world where you can visit the burial site of a nation's founder. Standing in this crypt, you can feel the weight of 1,000 years of German history surrounding you. But here's where it gets really mind-blowing. The church treasury contains the Samuel Gospels, a 1000-year-old manuscript decorated with gold, silver, and precious stones. These aren't just religious artifacts. They're some of the most valuable medieval treasures in existence, worth millions of dollars, and somehow still in their original location after surviving wars, revolutions, and countless attempts at theft. The Renaissance castle next to the church tells an even more incredible story. For over 800 years, this was home to one of the most powerful women's religious communities in Europe. The abbesses who lived here weren't just religious leaders, they were political powerhouses who controlled vast territories and influenced the fate of the German Empire. From the castle gardens, the views will take your breath away. The entire medieval town spreads out below you like a living map, with red-tiled roofs, church spires, and timber-framed houses creating patterns that have remained unchanged for centuries. Descending into QUEDLINBURG's old town is like walking through the world's largest open-air medieval museum, except everything here is still alive and functioning. The market square is dominated by the town hall from 1310 and the Roland statue that symbolized medieval independence. But here's something incredible. You're standing on top of a 13th century bridge that sank into the soft ground over time and is now buried beneath the cobblestones. The half-timbered houses surrounding you aren't just pretty buildings. They're architectural textbooks showing 800 years of German building evolution. The oldest house, at Werdgasse 3, dates back to 1310 and shows the post and beam construction typical of the Middle Ages. As you walk through different streets, you can literally see how building techniques became more sophisticated over the centuries. But here's what most visitors miss. Each timber-framed house tells a story through its decorations. The wooden carvings, the window arrangements, even the colors have meanings that medieval residents would have understood immediately. These houses were like medieval social media. They announced the owner's profession, wealth, and social status to everyone who passed by. The Schuhstrasse, Shoe Street, is one of the most romantic medieval alleys in Germany. This narrow, dark passage leads to some of the most beautiful timber-framed ensembles in the city. Medieval shoemakers lived and worked here, and walking through this alley feels like stepping into a medieval craft guild. The street called Halle, Hell, has a name that comes from the medieval term Pole, meaning swampy ground. This street shows how the town expanded beyond its original boundaries, with each neighborhood telling the story of different periods of growth and prosperity. What makes QUEDLINBURG truly special is that this isn't a reconstructed theme park. Everything you see is authentically medieval, lovingly preserved through centuries of careful maintenance by residents who understood they were guardians of something irreplaceable. Quedlinburg isn't just about medieval history, it's also the birthplace of modern German literature. Friedrich Gottlieb Klopstock, one of Germany's most important 18th century poets, was born here in a magnificent patrician house that still stands today. Klopstock revolutionized German literature by being the first major poet to write in German instead of Latin, influencing giants like Goethe and Schiller. The Klopstock house shows how wealthy merchant families lived during the Renaissance, with elaborate decorations and furnishings that demonstrate Quedlinburg's prosperity during its golden age. Standing in the room where Klopstock was born, you're in the birthplace of modern German poetry. But there's an even more surprising artistic connection here. The Lionel Feininger Gallery houses the world's most comprehensive collection of works by this important Bauhaus artist. Feininger never actually lived in Quedlinburg, but his friend Hermann Klump brought many of his works here when Feininger fled Nazi Germany in 1937. This gallery tells an incredible story of friendship and artistic preservation. Hermann Klump risked everything to save Feininger's modern art during the Nazi era and through the communist period in East Germany. The gallery finally opened in 1986, making Quedlinburg an unexpected center for understanding one of the most important artistic movements of the 20th century. The contrast between medieval architecture and modern art creates a unique cultural experience that you won't find anywhere else in Germany. Walking from 1,000-year-old churches to cutting-edge modern art in the same afternoon shows how Quedlinburg has always been a place where different eras of German culture intersect. Quedlinburg's story isn't all fairy tales and medieval romance. It also includes one of the darkest chapters in German history. During World War II, Heinrich Himmler and the SS became obsessed with Quedlinburg because of its connection to King Henry I, whom the Nazis claimed as an ancestor of their twisted ideology. Himmler established a special SS school in Quedlinburg and held annual ceremonies at King Henry's tomb, trying to create a Nazi pilgrimage site. The SS even stole precious artifacts from the church treasury, including a 9th century manuscript that wasn't recovered until after the war. But here's what's remarkable. The people of Quedlinburg resisted this Nazi appropriation of their history. Local church officials and residents worked to protect the town's authentic historical treasures, and many of the most valuable artifacts were hidden during the war years. After the war, Quedlinburg found itself in East Germany, where communist authorities had their own complicated relationship with medieval history. The town's religious heritage was downplayed, but the medieval architecture was recognized as valuable, leading to careful preservation efforts that continued even under difficult economic conditions. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 brought new challenges and opportunities. Quedlinburg was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1994, recognizing not just its architectural significance but also its role in preserving authentic German medieval culture through centuries of political upheaval. Today, walking through Quedlinburg, you can see how this small town survived and preserved its identity through some of the most turbulent periods in European history. Eating in Quedlinburg is like taking a culinary journey through German history. The traditional restaurants here serve dishes that have been prepared the same way for generations, using recipes passed down through families for centuries. The local specialty is Harzer Kuss, a pungent cheese that's been made in this region since medieval times. It's an acquired taste, but trying it in its birthplace, surrounded by the medieval buildings where it was first created, gives you a direct connection to centuries of German food culture. The traditional Gasthauses here aren't just restaurants. They're cultural institutions housed in buildings that have been serving travelers for hundreds of years. You can eat in the same rooms where medieval merchants, Renaissance craftsmen, and Baroque nobles once dined. But here's the insider secret that food lovers need to know. Quedlinburg is located in the heart of the Saale Unstrut wine region, one of Germany's northernmost wine-growing areas. The local wines are exceptional but virtually unknown outside the region, meaning you can taste world-class German wines at prices that will shock you. The combination of medieval atmosphere, traditional German cuisine, and excellent local wines creates dining experiences that you simply can't find in Germany's more touristy destinations. A meal that would cost 80 euros in Munich or Hamburg costs 25 euros here, but the authenticity and atmosphere are incomparable. The Christmas market season transforms Quedlinburg into something even more magical. The medieval market square fills with wooden stalls selling traditional crafts and foods, creating scenes that look exactly like Christmas markets did 500 years ago. What makes Quedlinburg truly remarkable isn't just its medieval past. It's how this small town has managed to preserve its authentic character while adapting to modern life. Unlike many German towns that were destroyed during World War II and rebuilt, Quedlinburg survived almost completely intact. The preservation efforts here are incredible. Every renovation project must follow strict guidelines to maintain historical authenticity. Modern conveniences are carefully integrated into medieval buildings without destroying their character. You'll find contemporary shops, restaurants, and hotels housed in 600-year-old timber-framed buildings. The town has become a model for sustainable heritage tourism. Instead of turning into a theme park like some other medieval German towns, Quedlinburg remains a living community where people actually live and work in these historical buildings. Young families are moving to Quedlinburg, attracted by the unique quality of life that comes from living in a UNESCO World Heritage site. Children play in medieval courtyards, students attend university and Renaissance buildings, and modern businesses operate from Gothic structures. The restoration techniques used here have become internationally recognized. Craftsmen in Quedlinburg have developed methods for maintaining timber-frame buildings that are now used in heritage preservation projects around the world. But perhaps most importantly, Quedlinburg has managed to remain affordable. While property prices in other German heritage towns have skyrocketed, Quedlinburg offers the chance to actually live in a medieval masterpiece without paying tourist trap prices. Now I'm going to reveal the mystery I promised at the beginning. The legend that explains why King Henry I chose this exact spot to establish the German kingdom, and why historians still debate whether it's fact or fiction. According to medieval chronicles, Henry was hunting in the Harz Mountains when he stopped to rest under a tree near what is now Quedlinburg. Suddenly, a bird landed on the tree and began singing so beautifully that Henry took it as a divine sign. He declared that this spot, blessed by God through the bird's song, would become the center of his new kingdom. But here's where it gets interesting. Recent archaeological discoveries have found evidence of much older settlements on the Schlossberg, suggesting that this site was considered sacred long before Henry arrived. Some historians believe the divine bird story was created to legitimize Henry's choice of a location that was already recognized as spiritually significant. The mystery deepens when you consider the strategic advantages of this location. Quedlinburg sits at the intersection of ancient trade routes, controls access to the Harz Mountains, and offers natural defensive advantages. Was Henry's choice really divine inspiration? Or was it brilliant military and economic strategy disguised as religious legend? Archaeological work continues on the Schlossberg, and each new discovery adds pieces to this puzzle. Recent excavations have uncovered foundations that predate Henry's time, suggesting that the story of Quedlinburg's founding is even more complex than medieval chroniclers recorded. The truth probably combines legend, strategy, and genuine spiritual significance. What's certain is that Henry's choice created one of the most important sites in German history, and the mystery of why he chose this exact spot continues to fascinate historians and visitors alike. Quedlinburg isn't just a destination. It's a journey through 1,000 years of German history that will change how you see medieval Europe forever. This town proves that the most incredible travel experiences aren't always in the most famous places. Here's my challenge to you. Don't just add Quedlinburg to your German itinerary. Make it the centerpiece of a Harz Mountains adventure that includes medieval towns, fairy tale castles, and some of the most beautiful landscapes in Germany. Stay at least 2 nights to really absorb the medieval atmosphere. Take the guided tours to learn the stories behind the buildings, and spend time just wandering the cobblestone streets without an agenda. Which part of Quedlinburg's story surprised you the most? Drop a comment below and tell me what you're most excited to experience. I read every comment and love helping people plan their medieval German adventures. If this video changed how you think about German travel, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. I'm constantly discovering hidden gems like Quedlinburg that offer incredible experiences without the tourist crowds, and I want you to be the first to know about them. And if you're ready to start planning your Quedlinburg adventure right now, check out my detailed Germany travel guides in the playlist linked in the description. Until next time, keep exploring the roads less traveled.